Welcome back to TYT Sports. France Maxwell. First of all, those who are watching, we went to the first clip, Cinco de Mayo, which means we ordered Pinches tacos. There's two locations. Pinches is in, it's right by our studio in Culver City, without giving away the address. And then there's one more, I think on the Sunset Strip. If you are in LA, I think it's the best tacos in LA. I think it's the best shrimp taco in LA. I make the argument it's the best shrimp. I'm
going to immediately say that there's no way.
This is royalty free, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's no way that that's true. It's too much of a, it's too much, like Edwin's shaking his head. It's too franchise to be it. There's at least 4 Pinches tacos that I know.
It's the best shrimp taco in LA.
There's no way. To have the best, it needs to be an authentic.
What is your objection to this?
Like, I think I've become so used to what LA is like now that you can't have something authentic if there's more than one place on it. Like the best sort of place is just probably somewhere that's
there are millions of Lapso dogs. I think I pronounced that wrong.
But Luna is the number one. You're right there.
Say there's a franchise of.
So there's a good point to be said that the best affordable burger in LA is In-N-Out because it's the best way you can go. But I just think there's so many restaurants that I've been to. There's one place in Santa Barbara, which you might be right with the LA point, but Santa Barbara does
keeping it to the county.
They do the best carne asada burrito I've ever had in my life in this place.
Sure. LA County.
I think it's called Carlitos.
Is it?
So good.
Santa Barbara's great. I actually went up there for the first time.
But I was telling Edwin off camera, don't mind saying it, if I could adopt any culture, it'd be the Mexican culture. If I could be reincarnated, I would just be, I just love the food. I love the energy. I love the atmosphere. And I love the way they appreciate the one thing that I can share with them more than anything is the love for football. They're fans. We know. We went to the game in the Rose Bowl.
That is true.
They're the closest on this side of the Atlantic to anything that I've experienced.
Oh, undoubtedly. So, Nick Diaz had the greatest interview I've seen in a while. I know it's a very random transition, but we unfortunately are somehow only have X amount of time. So we're gonna fly through some of this. There was 3 parts. I didn't want to take too much from the MMA Hour because it's like an hour-and-a-half interview, and it's great. And I suggest you watch the whole thing. Obviously, a lot of you people, a lot of the audience knows that I'm a fan of the MMA Hour. I'm a fan of Ariel Helwani. I think he's very good at what he does. I've gotten to meet him a few times at UFC events, so there's a slight bias on my part. But I also don't want to take what's technically not mine, so of course it's sourced. But here are three of the video parts towards the beginning that I actually thought were pretty great, including, and we'll actually play them back to back to back. I lied, so we'll do that, and including how Ariel and Nate Diaz are going to go to the Cannabis Cup to smoke weed one day.
Do some greetings and stuff, and me and Nick, and it was a lot of fun.
I've never been invited to a Cannabis Cup. Hopefully one day, maybe we can go together. I haven't had.
You can go with me next time.
Yes.
Let's go, but you're gonna have to smoke some good weed too with me.
Well, I don't know about
we
that.
Won't tell nobody else. We'll keep it on the down low.
My mom would be very disappointed. Why have you remained pretty much quiet since last year? I mean, you've popped up here and there. You've done a couple of interviews, but for the most part, even though your name is very much in the news almost every week, you haven't said much. How come?
Yeah, there's been a lot of pressure. Everybody's calling me and texting me and asking me this. There's a lot of clickbait with my name running around, and it's because there's not really much going on in MMA, I believe. I've seen rumors about my brother fighting people, and I've seen rumors about me fighting people, but we haven't done much talking to anybody. They asked me who's representing me. I said I'm representing myself. You know why? Because if my manager is representing Conor or Tony or Khabib or anybody, then go your ass over there and hang out with them. I only keep my homeboys around me. You know what I'm saying? I don't be having a bunch of phony fucking silly fucks around me, managing everybody.
I made a mess.
You did. You made a mess.
Francis, I mean, at this point, first, I think it was a great interview for the reason that he talks about bongs and smoking with Ariel Helwani. He shows him his dog at some point, and look, any video with a dog in it. If you don't know me by now, sold. Do you think Nate Diaz is making the right decision by not taking fights? Or do you think it would be better for him to just get in the octagon because he's never been somebody who's he's not 23-0. It's not like he has a loss that wouldn't really affect him, in my opinion, if he were to lose.
Here's my thing. If there's anyone else, Jason, in the world that we're talking about here who needs to remain consistent in order to maintain a level of competitiveness in the industry, I'd maybe say, I don't know if you should stay away from it that much. You got to keep yourself working. You got because nothing like prepares you for the experience you get when you're in the octagon. That's why I've always said that in any sport. Like, you can train and train and train, but you got to consistently get in there. You got to consistently compete so that you can measure yourself up against those that are coming through the ranks. But Nick Diaz is a different kettle of fish. This is a guy that came off of the back of 2 weeks, I believe, preparation for Conor McGregor and beat him. This is a guy that can come into the octagon with zero to little training. Now, he still trains, but in comparison to those that prepare for months and months and still be able to compete, because his heart isn't changing. His heart is what makes him the fighter he is, and his technique and his ability. So those things, yeah, you want to keep them tuned up. You want to keep yourself fit and in shape, which I'm sure he probably is doing. But he's a fighter that's very unique, whereas if he's not fighting consistently, I still fancy him to give anyone a run for their money by stepping into the octagon in any notice whatsoever. So for his own personal brand, I think I agree with him a little bit on this. Not a lot's going on as far as the biggest names at the moment. We're waiting to see what's going on with John Jones. We're waiting to see what Conor McGregor's post-baby decisions are going to be. Ronda Rousey's disappeared. These are just the bigger names I'm talking about. Yeah, there's other fights that have been going on. We've seen Mighty Mouse fight and consistently prove that he is one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant, pound for pound. So things are happening, but not on the same expectancy as the bigger names. And that's why I think at this moment, boxing's thriving a little bit more so, because they're having bigger name fights.
I was
happy
dust. You actually threw that out there. I want to get to two quotes to wrap up what a lot of the interview, by the way, was, of course, Conor McGregor discussion. He feels, in short, Nate Diaz feels that I whooped Conor McGregor's ass. I beat him the first time, in his words, obviously not mine. I beat him the first time, and yes, he got the win the second time, but I already beat him. I've proven I can beat him. I don't want a third fight, is what he said. I'll get to that. So there's actual quotes for these two. You guys fight each other, and the winner can have a crack at me. That's in relation to Conor and Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. Conor's just use your imagination. He got his ass whooped. He got choked, and now he's justifying it because the decision went to him because the company wanted it to go to him. If I don't get my blanking ass whooped by somebody, I don't just win a slight decision, then accept it as a win. The real champ right here. Typical Nate Diaz, good trash talk as always. I'm the two-time world champ because I whooped his ass and after he fought Jose Aldo and whooped his ass right before he fought Eddie Alvarez. I love the logic. He knocks these guys out and everyone seems to have forgot what happened. It just went away. I don't want a blanking third fight. Blanking Conor, he can blank himself. What do you expect at this point? Are you expecting to go up there and be like, I stopped smoking weed? I like Conor McGregor now. It's not gonna happen. No. But I'm happy you brought up the boxing thing, because boxing picked a good time to put back-to-back weekends of their best fighters, in a way, their stars. Joshua is now, I think, a superstar. I think he was a superstar.
I think he was, but that fight kind of cemented himself more. He's a people's champion. He's very humble, very... the first thing the guy did when he made some extra Cali Dosh, as I call it, candy, bought his former trainer way back when he was just a kid, BMW.
Did you really?
Bought him it.
You didn't get me a BMW yet? Way back. I've known you since you were a wee 23-ish-year-old boy.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future. So yeah, that's it's a testament to his character, man. He's a really, really humble guy. And that, by the way, which is a good point before I'm sure you're going to get to an even better point, it kind of proved that you don't always need all the trash talk and all the hype to make something really, really good. Anthony Joshua and Klitschko didn't have any sort of bitter rivalry. They don't. At the end, they shook hands. They both appreciated. Klitschko is a known champion. For years, him and his brother have dominated boxing, and he turned around and said, better man won. What can I say? I hope I gave you guys a good show. The guy was 40 years of age, and he was still taking punches like a champ.
They turned him into a giraffe.
Yeah, he put his neck. That was crazy. So
I was gonna say, and then I was gonna continue with this because of the Canelo versus Chavez. Now, sometimes good trash, sometimes it's not even trash talk.
Yeah, this is good.
If you watch Face Off with Max Kellerman with Canelo and Chavez Jr., Canelo actually said to Chavez's face that he was a disgrace to his country. And this is a very interestingly, and I wish I had 35 minutes to discuss this, but I don't. But it's really interestingly rooted because Canelo is part of Golden Boy Promotions, Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya fought Julio Cesar Chavez, Padre Sr., and that was supposed to be a passing of the torch from Chavez to De La Hoya, and instead De La Hoya treated it more like, I'm gonna kind of embarrass you in front of the country and our fans, and people didn't like that. And then De La Hoya signs Canelo, so the pretty boy signed what was supposed to be the next pride of Mexico, but still is in rightfully his own way. And then lastly, to wrap that up, Chavez Jr. doesn't necessarily have the best image attached to him, and he didn't carry on the way his father fought and what he fought for. And there is way more that goes into this. So additionally, David Lemieux is fighting, Lucas Matisse is fighting. It's easily the best card on paper, I'm not sure if it's gonna translate or not, that I've seen, I think, in 5 years. And they happened on back-to-back weekends, right in the middle of a time where the UFC, and you can't, it's not coincidence. Like that's just luck that there's no Conor fight this weekend. There's no Chuck Liddell comeback or GSP fight. Like, can't time that stuff. It's unbelievable. Nate Diaz should box. I think Nate Diaz would be an interesting boxer. So lanky.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, yeah, my final point on that is it's a good thing that I think boxing just reminded us that if there wasn't for all the shite that goes on behind the scenes and all the promoters trying to suffocate the sport, it still would be number one when it comes to fighting, because it can provide a spectacle that I just don't know if, and you guys might not appreciate this, but I watched a lot of boxing, and
you know, UK boxing in and out.
It took me back to the days of Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. That fight just reminded me of those nights where I'd sit up and watch it with my dad, and we'd watch late fighting, and they were just blow to blow, just haymaking each other non-stop. And yeah, it was basically like a brass knuckle fight. Come on, you hit me once, I'm gonna hit you. Joshua and Klitschko just going at it with each other. So yeah, my bias will prevail that I love UFC and I think it's a great sport. And I think it is the #1 fighting sport. There's no question about that now. It's overtook boxing. But when you have reminders like that of Joshua, and I hope a great fight this weekend.
Me too.
It shows you that they have the ability to just pull themselves back up and be like, we'll see who's dead.